There is a weed growing in the field behind your house right now. It costs nothing to pick. Infused in olive oil for 4 weeks, it becomes the most powerful natural wound healer ever documented in medical history. It closes cuts faster than anything in your first aid kit. It kills antibiotic-resistant bacteria that hospital-grade antiseptics fail to eliminate. It accelerates tissue regeneration by up to 40%. Hippocrates documented it. Roman legions carried it into every battlefield across 3 continents. The Cherokee and Ojibwe peoples discovered it independently an ocean away. And the $20 billion wound care industry has spent the last 80 years making sure you think of it as nothing more than a roadside weed. They did not bury this because it failed. They buried it because it worked too well, cost nothing, and could never be patented. This is the forgotten story of St. John's wort oil, the wound healer that built empires, and the industry that replaced it with a plastic bandage designed to fall off in 3 days. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. This is where we crack open the vaults the medical supply industry prays you never find. Subscribe now and ring the bell. Every vault we open, they wish we would not. Travel back to 400 BC, a stone medical hall somewhere in ancient Greece. Hippocrates, the physician whose oath still governs every doctor practicing medicine today, is documenting treatments for battlefield wounds, burns, and open lacerations. He does not reach for chemicals. He does not prescribe anything manufactured. He reaches for a small yellow-flowered plant called Hypericum perforatum. He writes of applying its oil directly to open wounds to prevent infection, accelerate closure, and reduce scarring. This is not folk remedy whispered between villagers. This is the father of modern medicine, in the founding document of the entire Western medical tradition, prescribing a weed from the field. The Roman legions took that knowledge and scaled it into military doctrine. Legion medical records list Hypericum oil as a mandatory field kit item. Not optional, mandatory. Every soldier crossing every territory from Britain to Mesopotamia carried it, because in a world without antibiotics, an infected wound was a death sentence. Wounds treated with this oil closed faster, infected less, and scarred less than wounds treated with anything else available. They did not know the chemistry. They had the results carved into stone across 2 centuries of military medicine. In medieval European monasteries, this plant was called the herb that drove out the devil. Monks traveling between monasteries carried dried hypericum and olive oil as emergency medical supplies. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, Cherokee healers and Ojibwe medicine people had independently discovered the identical plant and reached the identical conclusions. Burns, cuts, infected wounds, the same weed, the same results, 2 civilizations with 0 contact arriving at the same medicine. That is not coincidence. That is fundamental biochemistry waiting to be understood. Stay with me, because what the science reveals about this plant will permanently change how you think about your medicine cabinet. But first, everything the wound care industry buried is inside the complete forbidden outdoor vault. Natural wound treatments, water purification, emergency shelters, fire techniques, food preservation. Over 10 guides in one place. The link is in the description. But stay here because the chemistry coming next is the part they truly cannot afford for you to know. Here is what is actually happening inside that yellow flowered weed. Hypericum perforatum contains 2 primary active compounds, hypericin and hyperforin. When hypericin contacts the cell membrane of a gram-positive bacterium, including Staphylococcus aureus, including methicillin-resistant MRSA, it disrupts the membrane's structural integrity at the molecular level. The bacterium cannot develop resistance to this mechanism the way it develops resistance to antibiotics. Antibiotics block specific metabolic pathways. Bacteria can mutate those pathways. Hypericin physically destroys the membrane itself. You cannot evolve immunity to having your cell wall dismantled. Hyperforin works differently. It triggers an ion transport disruption that causes the bacterium to lose the ability to regulate its internal environment. The organism collapses from within. Independent laboratory testing has confirmed that hypericum extracts demonstrate antimicrobial activity against pathogens with full resistance to penicillin, methicillin, and several broad-spectrum antibiotics. A weed from the roadside outperforms antibiotics that modern medicine has declared nearly obsolete against resistant strains. The wound-closing mechanism is where this plant becomes extraordinary. Flavonoids in hypericum oil, specifically quercetin and rutin, directly stimulate fibroblast activity in the dermal layer. Fibroblasts produce the collagen that closes wounds. Peer-reviewed studies confirm hypericum extract increases fibroblast proliferation by 30 to 40% compared to untreated tissue. The wound physically closes faster. A 2003 study in the journal Phytomedicine confirmed accelerated wound closure in clinical trials. A 2012 study in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology documented significant tissue regeneration effects. The European Medicines Agency formally recognized topical hypericum as a traditional medicinal product for wound healing. The science is not disputed, it is simply invisible on store shelves. The global wound care market is valued at $20 billion annually. Johnson & Johnson, 3M, Smith & Nephew, Molnlycke, Their entire model depends on single use. A bandage applied once and thrown away. An antiseptic tube emptied and replaced. A scar cream that costs $25 and lasts 3 weeks. Nothing in that wound care aisle is designed to last, to prevent a second product being needed, or to eliminate infection before it requires a doctor visit. Hypericum oil treats wounds, burns, abrasions, and infected skin for months from a single jar. The raw material cost is zero. The shelf life is 2 to 3 years. You cannot patent a weed that has grown on every continent for millions of years. You cannot build a recurring purchase cycle around something anyone makes in their kitchen for nothing. So the industry did what it always does. It did not ban the plant. It made it invisible. When the FDA classification system was formalized in the mid-20th century, natural plant extracts were placed in a regulatory gray zone that made clinical approval prohibitively expensive for any compound that could not be patented. No patent means no return on investment. No return means no pharmaceutical company funds the trials. No trials means no FDA approval. No approval means doctors cannot prescribe it. And what doctors cannot prescribe gets dismissed as folk medicine, as alternative therapy, as something your grandmother believed in before real medicine existed. Meanwhile, Johnson & Johnson spent $800 million on Band-Aid marketing in a single decade. The weed kept growing in the field. If you have made it this far, you already know more about wound treatment than the average person standing in a pharmacy aisle. The vault link is in the description. Now here is exactly what to do with this knowledge. In late spring or early summer, find Hypericum perforatum in the wild. It grows on roadsides, in meadows, along fence lines, and at forest edges across North America, Europe, and Asia. The identifying feature is unmistakable. Small bright yellow flowers with 5 petals. Hold a leaf up to the light and you will see tiny translucent dots. Those dots are oil glands containing the active compounds. That is your quality confirmation. Harvest the flowers and buds when they are just beginning to open, not fully bloomed. Fill a clean glass jar loosely with fresh plant material. Cover completely with high-quality olive oil. The oil must fully submerge every part of the plant. Seal the jar and place it in a sunny windowsill for 4 weeks. The oil will turn a deep blood red as the hypericin extracts from the plant. That red color is your visual confirmation. The active compounds are present. Strain out the plant material through cloth. Store the red oil in a dark glass bottle. It will keep for 2 to 3 years. Apply directly to clean wounds, burns, abrasions, insect bites, and infected skin. Apply a thin layer and cover with a clean bandage. Reapply once daily. For burns, apply immediately and continue for several days. The anti-inflammatory effect reduces pain within hours. The antimicrobial action prevents infection within the first 24 hours. The fibroblast stimulation begins tissue closure within 48 hours. If you cannot harvest the plant yourself, dried Hypericum is available at any health food store for $1 to $2 per 100 grams. The infusion method is identical. Total cost of a 3-month supply of wound oil, under $5. Hippocrates documented this plant as essential medicine in 400 BC. Roman legions carried it across 3 continents as mandatory field supply. Cherokee healers discovered it independently across an ocean. A 2003 clinical trial confirmed accelerated wound closure. The European Medicines Agency formally recognized it. The science is settled, the cost is nothing. They did not bury this because it failed. They buried it because a weed that costs nothing and outperforms a $20 billion industry cannot be tolerated. The plant never cared about market share, it kept growing, the same way it will grow this spring in a field near you. Subscribe and share this with someone still paying $15 for antiseptic cream that does half the job. Every share preserves what the industry spent decades trying to erase. The next vault opens soon. What is inside weighs even heavier.